Hey everyone, thanks for tuning back in. The Lincoln's coming along pretty well, and I figured now would be a good time to start tackling the mechanical and the electrical gremlins that it has. So let's get it up on the quick jacks and take a look underneath and see what's going on. Got it up in the air. It's not too difficult with a body on frame car. Just put the quick jacks and the pads on the frame, lift it up, no big deal. And then always make sure to give the car a bit of a wiggle to make sure it's stable. And one thing with the old Fords, Lincoln, Mercuries, whatever has air suspension, always make sure you go in the trunk and turn off the air suspension. So now I'm going to get underneath it, see if there's any leaks or anything weird going on underneath. I'll start in the back and work my way forward. So on first inspections, you can see that it's a really clean car under here. All of the body work, that's perfect. There's no rust anywhere on that. The axle, obviously because that's unpainted, it has some rust on it, but again, not a big deal. Rear differential looks dry. Ooh, I do see an issue here. Looks like some rodents have been chewing on this vacuum line that goes up to the charcoal canister. There's a big hole in it right there. So I'll grab the part number off of that and call the Ford dealer and get another one. It looks like it just disconnects here and then I can replace it back there. So I'm sure that'll throw a check engine light at some point. Alright, let me grab a flashlight and we'll take a look at the air strut. And by air strut I mean air spring. It's not a Mercedes. So I haven't found any service records for the the springs. So they're very likely original. This one looks pretty good, except right at the bottom there's some like weather checking of the rubber. But it sat for a week before I started it today, and it was still holding up where it should be. So I guess we'll keep running it until they blow. Alright, so let's move a little farther forward, see what's going on. Alright, same as in the back. No rust on any of the, like on the floor pan or anything like that. A little bit of light rust on the exhaust. Let's see. Front side of the diff is dry. No leaks anywhere on there. I did see a service record where all of the U-joints were replaced in the drive shaft because of a vibration. So that's been dealt with. So I don't see any issues. Don't see any issues back here. Alright, so now we're up in the front by the transmission. Everything looks dry up here. Transmission pan is dry as a bone. The bell housing's dry, so no rear main seal leaks. Oil pan is 100% dry. Everything underneath looks great. Suspension looks good. This thing is in really good shape underneath. Alright, now on the front side of the engine, same as everything else, everything looks dry. Bushings look good. All the lines look good. I'm going to give it an oil change here a little bit, and the oil filter is in a really inconvenient spot. I think it could be accessed from above, but it's just going to dump oil all over the steering rack. Good job, Ford. But no, this thing looks fantastic underneath. Let's take a look from the top side. I did wash the engine bay probably about a week ago, and I got all of the road dust and debris and everything off of it. And it cleaned up really nice. So I cleaned out, there was a bunch of leaves back in there, so that was all vacuumed out. I wiped everything down. And I see nothing on the valve covers. That's all dry. All the hoses look good, nothing cracked or dried out over here. Battery's new. It's a belt, it's a Napa belt that's been replaced. That's in great shape, not cracked at all. Everything down here is dry. This valve cover looks dry. The only thing over here that's weather cracked is this little vent line going from the intake down to the valve cover. Everything up here looks good. Let's take a quick look at the air filter, see if it's clean or dirty. It's a Motorcraft filter. That looks clean. I don't think there's any reason to replace that. Coolant bottle's full. I already checked it with my tester and it tested fine. Power steering is full. Brake fluid's full. So I think really the only thing I'm going to do to it mechanically is give it an oil change. I'm not going to, so like usually with a flip car, I'll go and do a whole bunch of shit that isn't necessary, like air and cabin filters, oil changes, brake fluid flushes, but everything seems fine. I don't see the need to really do all of that stuff. I did order new tires for it, so I had those installed today. So I've got a set of BF Goodrich Advantage TA Sports. It's not necessarily the most attractive looking tire, but it was by far the cheapest name brand tire I could find. So I found them on Tire Buyer. Everywhere else had them for $130 a piece. Tire Buyer had them for $109 a piece, plus free shipping to a local installer, plus I found a 7% off coupon, plus it had a $50 rebate. So these tires ended up at, I think it was like $100 and a few cents all in with tax and everything. So I had them shipped over to the local Pep Boys. When you order on Tire Buyer, you can have it shipped to a preferred dealer, and it'll give you a list of all of the dealers and their installation prices. So I just looked through all of those to find the cheapest installer, sent them over to Pep Boys, and they installed them for $70, which was about $20 cheaper than anybody else. And while it was there, I had them check and do an alignment. So it's good to go now on that front. And while it was on the lift with all of the wheels off of it, I took a look at the brakes and the suspension, and everything was great. The pads and rotors looked like they were just replaced not too long ago, so I'm not going to bother pulling the wheels back off of it. And today I'm going to I'm going to replace this vacuum line or vent line that's running from the charcoal canister up through the frame. A rodent of some sort chewed a hole in it. So I went over to the local pull-apart. They had a 2003 Crown Victoria over there, so I grabbed the hose off of it for a couple bucks. Shouldn't take too long. It's 2 nuts on the back side and There's 2 bolts in the front side of this metal pan, but like the Crown Victoria one, I just took off the 2 nuts in the back and I was able to rotate it down enough that I could unhook the hose on the charcoal canister. Okay. And it's still very rigidly attached. Oh, I see why. Little speed clips on the charcoal canister. In the case of the Crown Vic, it doesn't have this pan on it, so you can just put this charcoal canister directly on. But for the town cars, you'd have to assemble this, and then it would go down the line farther before the bumper goes on, and there's nothing to hold the charcoal canister up. So put these little clips on it until the bumper's put on. Alright, so I need to cut the tape so it's taped together with the other one. And it just pulls off of this canister here. Fish the new one in. And don't over tighten those, you'll strip them out easily. Okay. Alright, that's good to go. Well, now that I've been under the car and have seen that it really doesn't need anything mechanically, I'm going to treat it to an oil change anyway. So the oil was changed about 100 miles ago according to the service record, but it's been sitting in a hot, humid outdoor carport for a couple years, and it's been started and moved around quite a bit by the previous owner and myself, so just because, in case there's fuel and water contamination, I'm going to do an oil change. So for $32, I've got 6 quarts of Mobil 1 and a Motorcraft filter from Walmart. So it's cheap, it's easy, so just do it anyway. Alright, looks like it'll be easiest to get it from below. I can hopefully get in there with either my strap wrench or a set of channel locks, and hopefully it's not too tight, and I can just unscrew it that way. And I've got a plastic bag, so I'll put it below it to kind of direct the oil away from the power steering pump, or, well, there's the power steering pump there, but the power steering rack and all of the lines, and then I'll clean everything up after it's done. Runs and idles, smooth as silk. Take a look underneath for leaks. Everything looks okay so far. I'll shut it off, check it, top it off if it needs to, and that should be, as of now, that should be the end of the mechanical stuff on the car.